I've got a lecture prepared, but that's kind of a backup. And I'd rather kind of do as much of the conversational stuff this week as possible. And I wanted to begin by asking Caroline and Dan to talk a bit about local and Kiara's not here yet. Talk about is she not feeling well?
Laura wasn't feeling well.
Anyway, if you can talk about the BBC social media launch as well.
Yeah.
So what are the headline things to do?
Yeah. Well, I've put it on. We've both put a little bit on our blogs as well. So which one? Do you want to do one each, or should we do?
Do you want
So what was first? The BBC one.
BBC, yeah.
So that was. You did a summing up, didn't you? But you had some notes, didn't you?
Did I? Yes. Okay. Basically, it was the kind of a launch of a white paper into how social media is it's kind of starting to get involved in journalism, which we all sort of knew anyway. But there was a lot of talk about how journalists are using social media to gather their stories, to find tips, especially by a lot of the newspapers, The Guardian and The Telegraph, who were both represented there, are doing a lot of forums and comments, and they're actually encouraging their writers to get involved in debate once the article's gone online, to not just go, that's it, it's there, but to actually stick around for the comments and deal with them.
That was one of the points that Meg made. She said conversation's happening anyway, so they're encouraging journalists to get involved in the conversation. So being much more of a sort of two-way process. There was a lot of sort of shocked older journalists who sort of stood up again, but what are we going to do? Which is quite funny. But yeah, the building of the community seems to be central. But one thing there, because Kate Day was there as well, and Meg Pickard, and they were discussing Nick's paper, and Nick Newman, yeah, he was presenting the rise of social media and the impact on mainstream journalism paper that he'd done in conjunction with Reuters in, was it 10 week residency at Oxford or something like that?
It might have been longer than that, but he basically sat there and just worked on this huge study about how, as I say, how social media how journalists are using it, and how also then the stories are being pushed back through it. And it was there seems to be, because the question came up as usual, how are we going to pay for it, and sort of money became quite a quick issue, and again it was the same old answer, that no one really knew how we're going to make money out of social media or online news. But it's fine because it's great, it's really interesting. So.
Yeah, towards the end of the person who knows the answer to that question might be in this room.
Or might not come back.
And I quite liked, he started off the chair, and it was in the BBC chamber, and we were underneath a picture of Lord Reith, and he said something along Lord Reith said something along the lines of the success of media is in sort of monopoly of force or something like that.
Yeah, kind of gatekeeping of the tradition.
Yeah. So it's quite funny that we're having this talk about social media and collaboration.
And was there lots of negative? Was there a lot of people who didn't want that to happen? So kind of
there was
quite accepting. Actually, at the beginning, Kate Day said, "I'm really pleased that the conversation's gone on from mostly what is this social media thing and how we're going to use it to it's been progressed now to social media is there, here it is kind of thing. It's not marking the end of it's not marking they no longer see it so much as marking the end of print journalism. They sort of see it more as a useful tool that can be used within journalism. And the two examples, Telegraph and Guardian, were talked about how they were using it specifically to interact with their reader, that they have a different remit. It's not just about making profit.
Yeah. Start educating and informing people.
Yeah.
Nice.
There's a full audio thing on my site, which is
Yeah, I was going to listen to that.
dandy23.wordpress.com. So yeah, and I've boosted up the volume there as well.
Right, see, I've videoed bits of it with the sounds off, so you can watch it all you want. It's great, but you can't hear it. Not much use.
You could get two computers together and listen on one.
Well, I could actually probably put Dan's audio on my video clips,
Yeah.
but that's far too complicated.
It's not, you have to find the right moment.
Exactly, that's the thing, it's really specific, otherwise it will just look really...
The other video I did with CDR, it's one cell phone's audio with, and I mixed both videos and
Nice.
sync.
I need to get
I
involved
found
as well.
yesterday this JD Lassica slideshow he presented about his presentation at the Online News Association San Francisco, right? It's social media mania, how journalists can use social media to build community, and I think it's quite interesting. It has lots of tips. It's on his slideshare.
Do you want to bookmark it with the code for this week? LJ
Yeah, I can.
701
Oh, one.
or 2, I think it is. Yeah. LJ 701.
Yeah. Something about when yesterday. Where can I place this?
Should we go to the Tallow 9?
Yeah, Tallow 9. Talk About Local 09 was basically an unconference, which if you haven't been to one of those before, which I haven't, it's basically was the untrained eyes at a disorganised conference. Basically, you kind of turn up and people suggest what sessions you're going to have that morning. There was basically a big whiteboard. Anybody who fancied doing a talk about anything in particular, whether it's their own local website, whether it's money issues, whether it's how they do it, whether they want to launch something, whatever it was, they could put a post-it note on a board, and the organisers would sort it out into sessions and group similar subjects together, because there were about 30 different ones, something like that, weren't there? Like different like post-it notes all up there, so they kind of grouped similar ones, scheduled them into a room, and then advertised a bit later on what's happening where, so you could just turn up and see whatever session you wanted to go and see. And it actually, considering it was fairly random, it worked really well. I thought they grouped good things together, and there was, because there was 3 different sessions each time, and there were 4 slots each day. You kind of had to pick and choose what you wanted to go and see. But the first one was the director of digital engagements, and his name escapes me. But he,
Andrew Scott.
that's the one. And it seems like it's 10:30 in the morning. He did this huge piece about stats and data, and we were kind of sitting there looking a bit. It was very kind of data heavy, but it was interesting about how they're trying to free up all the official data. So coders out there, programmers, web designers can use it and drag it. Things like BCC DIY, all these. There's so many websites out there. I didn't realise how many there were that are using data,
Like,
kind of taking it and rehashing it and bringing it out the other way.
Yeah,